A Giants podcast for Giants fans
by Giants fans.
From the offseason to the wins and the losses, it's time to take one Giant step.
Welcome inside One Giant Step. The schedule is out. This is our schedule reaction podcast. I'm Shaun Morash. He's Bryce Gelman. There's panic in the streets. I'm really not understanding why, but we'll have some fun and we'll break it all down. Bryce already pre this recording is already panicked, I guess, because he forgets that his Knicks are complete choke
Let's not talk about it. Let's not talk about it. We're gonna talk Giants.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's Jalen Brunson with a six foul.
The second you get involved, the second you say the series is over, the Knicks win, this is when this happens. So thanks,
Well,
Shaun.
it should be over, man.
You're playing the Rangers sweep thing in your dad's backyard all over again. This is exactly the same thing.
Be very disappointing. It's already disappointing this series has gone 6. But look, I digress. We're here to talk Giants football. Last week we predicted the pod. Bryce, did you get the exact amount right we had, by the way, on our schedule prediction?
Well, you told me you got 2. I don't know if you went through the whole thing, but I got 1 for a fact, and I know you said you got 2. You want me to take a look at it right now?
Hold on, I'm gonna look at it.
I got it. All right, hold on. This is great. This is great.
Great radio
right now. Yeah, this is amazing. Hold on. I got it right here. I'm gonna put it right up against it.
All right, let's see.
Wait, did you get the Bears right?
Did I?
But you didn't put your.
No,
week.
I didn't.
That's the thing. Like 1, 2, 3, 4.
I was
5,
close.
6, 7, 8, 9.
I was off. You know what I got right? I got the 49ers and Bears being back-to-back weeks right, but I had them off by a week.
Mm-hmm. Well, you didn't get it.
I did
you
get
got the
that
Lions,
line.
though, which is impressive because your reasoning for that was pretty sound. So you got that. There wasn't just a shot in the dark.
Home. They always play that home game on Sunday before Thanksgiving versus some opponent to rev up ahead before the Super. That was made for the Giants. So I got 2 right.
You got the Cowboys and the Lions.
Yeah, and I had said this. I believe that the NFL was going to close the year with Commanders-Eagles. It made all the sense in the world. They were just in the NFC Championship game. Why wouldn't you take those 2 best teams from the NFC if you have a chance to put them in that last week and think it's for a division title? Of course, they're going to play 2 of 3 weeks. Okay. Who cares about our predictions? Let's get to the schedule. Yep. I'm not going to do the win-loss thing. I'm just going to, again, I'm sure most of you have seen the schedule. If you're listening to this, if you haven't and we're breaking it to you, that's cool too. Open on the road, Commanders, 1 o'clock. Week 2 on the road, Dallas, 1 o'clock. Of course, all these times Eastern. Week 3, their home opener is Sunday Night Football versus the Chiefs. Put a pin in that. I want to talk about that in a little bit. Week 4 at home versus the Chargers, a game I suspected would be early in the year. Week 5 on the road to New Orleans. Week 6, Thursday Night Football at home, Eagles. Week 7 at Denver. Week 8 at Philly, 1 o'clock. Week 9 home, San Francisco. Week 10 on the road, Chicago. Week 11 home, Green Bay. Week 12, that week before Thanksgiving, they're in Detroit. Then they come off Thanksgiving. They're playing the Monday night game Thanksgiving weekend in New England. Then a very late bye before a rally of 4 games. Home Commanders, home Vikings, at the Raiders, which could be a Saturday game if either of those teams are relevant. And, of course, that finale, home Dallas Cowboys. So, Bryce, all right. Who cares about record predictions? We're going to change this a million times. Can I just do my spiel and then you give it back to me?
Go for it.
We have been so excited about the Giants because of the free agency, Paulson Adebo, Javon Holland, Chauncey Golston, because of the draft. Oh my God, they got Abdul Carter and they figured out a way to get a quarterback and they got Darius Alexander. And oh my God, Cam Scatterbo fell to them in the 4th round. So everybody that's been listening to this pod, and thank you, always download, subscribe to One Giant Step everywhere podcasts are available. There has been unified excitement about the direction of the roster and the change of the roster. But the black cloud hanging over the whole thing was, but we knew that they were going to have a difficult schedule. So what I don't understand, Bryce, in the schedule dropping yesterday was suddenly this panic in the streets from Giants fans I saw on social media. And if you're not one of those, maybe, Twitter doesn't tell the whole story. Oh my God, what a brutal schedule. Can you believe the schedule? There's no let up. Yeah, I can believe the schedule because we knew the opponents and we knew it was going to be hard. So I say that to say, look, yeah, the Commanders and Cowboys, and I'm going to reason with you on why we should view those games not as impossible like we once did in a second, and I'll do that thing, Bryce, but All right, maybe you wanted to start with New Orleans. Like I had the Patriots. I would have preferred that, right? Patriots, Raiders, New Orleans. Maybe that was somebody's ideal start to a year where you feel like there's a good chance you can go 3-0 or something like that. Okay, great. Then what? Then you play these difficult games as some of these teams, by the way, get stronger as the year goes on. And then the whole thing falls apart. Then what would it look like? What would it look like starting 3-0 and having a season completely have the rug pulled out from underneath you? Would that look better for this regime? Or would it look better to kind of find your way, maybe have a chance at a surprise win or two those first 6 weeks of the year? And then as your team itself gets better, or dare I say you do eventually turn to Jackson Dart, you find your Raider game, your Patriot game, et cetera, et cetera. So there's no good way to put the hardest strength of schedule on paper in the NFL, which is what the Giants were going to have anyway, together and go, oh, this pleases me. But I think when I look up and down, I actually think by playing those difficult games the first 4 weeks, I don't know, Bryce. I'd rather have them there than at the end of the year where it's going to make you feel. What I want more than anything else is I want to enter, while I would love a playoff year, while I would love significant growth where Jackson Dart surprises, plays a little earlier, whatever. What I want more than anything else is I want stability, and I want to feel confident heading into 2026. You know what I want, Bryce? I want to feel, dare I say, like Carolina Panther fans feel right now, which was, wow, we stunk last year, but we started to play better as the year went on. Bryce Young showed growth. Yeah. And that's a team that believes a little bit. Caleb Williams put together some better games at the end of the year. They hired Ben Johnson. That's a team that believes a little bit. We're not going to believe at all if the Giants play all those easy games at the front half of the schedule and they completely poop the bed the second half. So, I'm just trying to think big picture with all of you out there. The schedule should not be a surprise. And I actually think by not having it front loaded with like the softest games in your schedules, I think that will pay long-term dividends to the franchise.
Shaun, I just don't want to see the season over by week 6.
I agree.
Selfishly for us, it's so much more enjoyable to do this podcast when we're talking about a team that actually has some juice, that actually has something to them, a real tangible value to them. They're not like the dog on the side of the road. They're not discarded, and left to die. And that's what this Giants team has been now potentially 3 years in a row. I'm not going to tell you that the first 6 games are unwinnable, like a lot of the people said on Twitter. I think they can win 1 or 2 of those games. And I think having such a good pass rush allows them to knock off better teams once in a while. I'm not going to tell you it's going to happen 8-9 times. They're going to win 9 games. I don't know if we're going to get into this at some point in this podcast. But, Shaun, I for the life of me cannot do another season in which they're done really early on in the season. But that being said, Shaun, we knew that this was going to be an extremely difficult season. We knew the Giants had the most difficult schedule among all the 32 NFL teams, and now we actually see it with our own eyes. I don't know why some people are surprised.
I've crazy discussed this now. That part was crazy to me.
I don't know. I've discussed this for 4 months, and you've obviously shot that. They're like, Bryce, don't worry yet. Well, now we see it. And not that we should worry. Not that we should worry, because here's the one silver lining in all this, and probably why the Giants have a primetime game in week 13 against the Patriots on Monday Night Football is the fact that they think that maybe Jackson Dart is starting by then. Maybe they think that, the season is over. They're 2-11. Now they go to Jackson Dart. Now it's an interesting game, Jackson Dart versus Drake May. I think that that's the only logic behind that. But again, I just can't do it. I can't do it. We had 6 weeks last year, or 5 weeks.
Right.
And then the Andrew Thomas injury, and that was it. I can't do it again.
Bryce, obviously injuries change a lot of things, so I don't even want to speak that into existence, but you're right. And the Andrew Thomas thing changed a lot. I'm going to ask you for a couple minutes to get in the therapy chair with me for a second, and all the Giant fans, all right? And this is not me waving pom-poms because I'm not out here predicting playoffs or anything like that. But I think I tweeted this part in a million tweets I sent out. Listen, I was over-tweeting, but that's fine.
Yeah, we know.
Every year, we're all in office pools, the knockout pools, et cetera, et cetera. The reason those pools exist is because September is a wild month in the NFL where teams off of the preseason don't play a lot, and you have some teams gas, some teams whatever, and there are vulnerabilities, and you see big upsets all the time. I mean, think about that Saints game versus the Cowboys in week 2 last year and what happened with that. Week 1, the Patriots, who stunk, went and beat the Bengals in week 1. I'm just setting this up to say everybody should go, up there they are. They're 0-4 again. How do you know that?
Yeah.
Also.
But it's also not crazy to say that it could happen. It's likely to happen. Yeah,
No,
they
they're gonna
could
be underdogs
easily
already.
knock off a team, but
It could happen. But I also need to remind everybody of something else. We have to see this whole thing come together, and there's going to be a whole training camp and a million things that go on with it. You all out there, because I think this is truth, because I think it's the human element, have not seen what the 2025 Giants that have added two studs on the defensive secondary there with Holland and Adebo, that have now added Abdul Carter, who might be the best player in the draft, right? That have now upgraded the quarterback position, despite what you may think of Russell Wilson. It is an upgrade. That are now going to hopefully get huge jumps in year two from Drew Phillips and from Tyler Nubin and from Malik Neighbors and Tyrone Tracy, and you add in Cam Scadaboo. I know this is very tough. We have not seen the 2025 Giants yet in the talent, but yet we all know when we're looking at paper that the 2025 Giants are much better than the 2024 Giants. Yep. How much better on Sundays, Mondays, and Thursdays? We don't know, but we'll find out. And yet the 2024 Giants, before Andrew Thomas went down, because that's obviously the house of cards where everything falls apart, as we've seen the last couple of years, we're right there in all of those games at the beginning of the year with a much worse roster, right? Yeah. The Commander game with no kicker, the freaking Bengal game on Sunday night. So, and that's with Daniel Jones quarterback in the team, who we all couldn't wait to scream and get rid of. It's easy to look at last year's standings and operate under the assumption the Giants are the worst team in football and all these other teams are elite. Yeah. So therefore, when they're playing these first four games, the Giants are an automatic 0-4. And again, Bryce, you're right. They may go 0-4. But we don't know what these Giants look like yet. Yet we're all excited, right? That the defense could be, you said they could be a top 5 unit in the league. Well, if they're that good and they're that deep in the pass rush and they've added to the secondary, how do you beat the good teams with good quarterbacks? By beating the hell out of them with your pass rush. Yeah. So I don't know about you, Bryce, but as offenses try to figure themselves out in those first 4 weeks, I do believe, and my expectation is, I don't know which game it'll be. I believe the Giants will win one of those first 4 games. And if they win one of those first 4 games, I'm not even asking them to win 2 or 3. If they win one of those first 4 games, then they have the Saints in week 5, who that should be the one team on their schedule that they should actually be better than. And then you're going into the Philly Thursday night game, which again, peg in it. Don't expect them to win. I'll discuss that in a second. 2-3 after 5 games off of last year is something I think we'd all sign up for and we would all feel positive about as early October hits. And whatever happens from that point happens. Also, if the season does feel dead at the beginning of the year, Bryce, which is one of your main concerns, right? If they do start 0-4, it's going to feel like crap. And by the way, all 0-4s are not the same, right? Maybe they're hanging in some close games. Unlike past years where we're sitting here doing a dead podcast because the team stinks and you're looking for hope and you're rooting for losses, we're not going to root for losses because at some point Jackson Dart's going to play. Who cares about tanking when you've now invested in a quarterback in the first round? Maybe it's something we care about a year from now. If we've gone through 2 years and Dart stinks, we'll worry about that. But the season at no point this year will in fact be dead even if the playoffs die, because it is going to be about the development of growth of the most important position on the field. So at no point should the 2025 Giants feel dead in the fans' eyes, because there's whether it's a surprise playoff run with Russell Wilson or whether it's starting to play the future at the position that is most important, the season will always feel alive week to week in 2025.
Yeah, I guess so. And you're also looking at a team, again, to your credit, is much improved. And there is a jump and a leap for them to take. It's just the difficult situation of having the toughest schedule in the league. And I don't think that that's going to say as much about the Giants as it says about them just, getting a terrible draw here. It's not going to be – I get where you're coming from, and I understand that. Obviously, my concern is valid, and plenty of other people feel the exact same way.
I'm not saying it's not valid.
But there's something about this team. There's something about the roster being better. There's something about this team potentially, taking a step up here that is intriguing. That is something that you could look forward to in terms of watching, sitting down on your couch, turning on the TV, and not being like, oh, this team again. I really got to sit through 3 hours.
Why is your mentality why is your mentality and many Giant fans' mentality not being able to process, hey, bring it on? Because you know what my mentality was when I looked at it? We should be underdogs in all 4 of those games. They're already 7.5-1 underdogs versus Washington.
Dude, honestly, the excuse against the Cowboys have to end in this season.
Great point, Bryce.
They need to beat the Cowboys, maybe even sweep them. They're a better team on paper than the Cowboys. What have they done the last 5 years in free agency with trades? George Pickens is their prized acquisition. Come on. Come on.
Bryce,
They're a serious franchise.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. And Dallas still has a ton of talent and Dak and all that. But this is a team in the regression mode of a roster because their salary cap dictates as such. Okay? This is a regressing talent team where the Giants are ascending. Have the Giants gotten there with Dallas? We don't know. We won't know that probably until week 2. But I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. Look, the Commanders last year, I expect Jaden Daniels to only be better. They've added Deebo Samuel. That should be a better team. But they now have added a rookie tackle to their roster. So in week 1, a rookie tackle is going to be going up against one of our pass rushers. All right. The Giants also hung with the Commanders, who were in the NFC Championship game in both games last year. All right. Probably should have won that first one. And then you bring up the Dallas thing. Like at some point, the 0-13, I think it should end this year, right? Maybe it's the last game of the year. Maybe it is week 2. But if the Giants lose that game week 1, or even if they win that game week 1, I'm telling you right now where we are going to gravitate towards mentally as a fan base. Dallas likely will have probably lost that Thursday night game versus the Eagles. And we are, little spoiler alert, heading into week 2, whether we are 0-1 or 1-0, there is going to be belief in the fan base that that's the one the Giants got to have on the road in Dallas.
Yeah.
That I'm telling you right now, I'm predicting that right now. And we should have that expectation that if you're cherry picking, if Washington's going to continue to make this leap, and they should because they may have the best quarterback in the conference, and the Eagles are Super Bowl champs. Well, if I'm looking around at the division and what team I'm trying to catch next, it's got to be the Cowboys on the down low. So I think there's some truth to that. Now, whatever happens those first 2 games, 2-0, 0-2, 1-1, whatever the hell may be, I do have to rant and rave a little bit about week 3, Bryce, because this one actually pisses me off. Okay.
So screwed.
Again, I'm trying to be glass half full, right? The games I view as in theory impossible, even though they shouldn't be, but the Eagles and the Chiefs, right? Those, and I say that because forget the Giants record versus the Eagles and that the fact that they haven't really seen the Chiefs. First time Patrick Mahomes coming to MetLife. Those are the 2 conference champions that just played in the Super Bowl. The Chiefs are a dynastic team. We'll see what the Eagles have cooking. Your 2 of your first 3 home games for Giants season ticket holders, remember, they don't play the first 2 games at home, are primetime games versus the Chiefs and Eagles. It's a joke. Now, Thursday night Philly, I mind less because you know what I also look at, Bryce? Those Thursday night games, sometimes the luck is not with you. Sometimes the luck is with you. Those injuries that pop up the Sunday before, concussion protocol stuff, all of that, they screw over so many of those Thursday night games. I don't want to wish injury on anybody. Maybe the Giants get lucky and there's a couple key Eagles out and the Giants are feeling good about themselves and they find a way to stun you. Don't expect it, but I would rather that game be on a Thursday than on a Sunday and take my chances that way. I know that sounds silly, but I'm serious. I'm thinking of any edge. The Chief game week 3. The Chiefs are playing on Christmas Day. They're playing on Thanksgiving versus Dallas. They're playing, any primetime game under the sun. They got the big Bills 425 game. How could the Giants, who are picking top 5 in the draft seemingly every year, how could they at home in week 3? What of all the Chief games, that screams the Chiefs should just get their token, one of their 4 1:00 games should be versus the Giants. The idea that the Giants fans and the season ticket holders who are dying to see Abdul Carter, dying to see the Giants, are going to have sat through 2 road games, and maybe they're 0-2. Maybe they are. And all come home. Like, there is a scenario where you walk out of that building and the Giants are 0-3. I'm acknowledging that. And that's a death knell to season ticket holders and fans that go to games going, wait, we were only played 1 home game and we had to go watch Patrick Mahomes go up and down the field on us and a million Swifties. I just hate that. Look, I would love, by the way, the caveat is if you ever in a million years found a way with your pass rush to stun the Chiefs that night, it would be like one of those mind-numbing where were you when Giant games that maybe feels like it changes the fortune. I'm not expecting, I'm just saying I hate the idea that's the home opener on Sunday night. Like, I think that's in prime time for everybody to laugh at the Giants. I hate that part of it. Like, that to me, of all the Chief games, that game should not be a primetime game. And it's the Giants home opener. It's so stupid.
Dude, what we've seen the last few years is the Giants get so off track by terrible losses at the start of the year. Obviously, Cowboys 40-0 game. Last year getting smacked by the Vikings. Obviously, the Vikings went on to win 14 games at the time. We thought they weren't as good of a team. But this just screams that. It screams getting off. It doesn't matter what happens in the first 2 weeks. Again, like you said, they could be 1-1, 0-2. I think it's massive if they win that Cowboys game because I think it changes everything. Like, you at least have some hope. But if they start 0-2 and then against the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football get absolutely smacked, you're looking at I'm not going to say it's dead, but it's a tough season going forward, and you're going to have another demoralized fan base for the third straight year, and I don't want to see that. And I can't for the life of me understand. We're you're preaching to the choir here, Shaun. I cannot for the life of me understand why the NFL would do this. Again, you're right. Like the Chiefs, how many games they have on primetime? I don't know that it's like 6, 7, maybe more. And why does it have to be against the Giants? Like I don't know if it's the New York thing that Patrick Mahomes coming to MetLife for the first time. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I know that I don't like it, and I know that it has the possibility of being, I'm not going to say it a season-ending loss, but a season-ending loss in terms of how the fans think about this team, the belief the fans have that this season could be different. We all know that we have to set our expectations a little bit lower than maybe they were in 2022 if they got off to such a hot start. Much easier schedule. It's been the easiest schedule they've had in the last 3 years. This schedule is obviously a different beast. It's a different animal. Yeah. And we have to lower our expectations and can't get so down to the dumps with that. Well, I know we're what 4 months away from this.
Yeah,
things could change by then.
By the way, and that's why those first 2 games are important, because if you find a way to steal when you live with whatever happens, and I'm telling you right now, if they're 1-2 going into that Charger game, as good as the Chargers are, that's not a boat race, score 35 points a game type of team. Now the Giants are gonna have to learn how to stop the run, which they didn't do last year, and you hope they're taking leaps and bounds with that. But again, I think you'll enter that week 4 game, Chargers, West Coast team, early travels, Brazil, 1:00 game. You'll talk yourself into finding a way for the Giants to win that game ahead of time.
It's not unwinnable. It's not unwinnable whatsoever.
And that would set you up with the Saints, the Eagles. Now, if I'm just kind of going through some other intricacies I noticed. So no Eagles in December this year. That's become like a time-honored tradition. Instead, though, you're still getting the 2 out of 3 week Eagles span. So after that Thursday night game, the Giants are going on the road to Denver. And then they come back home for Philly. So again, by October, you're done with the Eagles. But you're getting them 2 out of 3 weeks, which is nuts. But when you turn the calendar to November, this is where I find the schedule to be interesting. And I'm very interested to see. By then, you're talking about 8 weeks of Giants football. Chemistry has evolved. Let's see what the injuries look like. Let's see. The defense I expect to get progressively better, by the way, the more they play together with all these new pieces as the season goes on, where I think by November, I would expect, you talked about top 5 defenses. The reason I pumped the brakes is I think it's going to take a little time. I expect the Giants defense, if healthy, to start humming along in November. So when I look at that, no matter where they are going in, what are the 49ers this year? They've traded off a bunch of pieces. I know they're still uber talented, well coached. Brock Purdy, a lot more on his plate this year. I am not officially declaring the 49ers coming to MetLife as an automatic loss. It may be, and I may look silly 4 months from now. I don't know what the hell the 49ers are going to be this year.
They have the easiest schedule in football. We have the hardest. So I should tell you, they could still win 12 games and be.
Of course. But how good a 12-win team are they?
Yeah.
The Bears, I'm not like a big Bears guy.
It's very, very interesting. They're probably the biggest question mark.
Sure.
In the league this year, they could either be a 12, 13 win team or they could be at 7, 8 wins.
Right.
Ben Johnson could completely change the fortune of that franchise.
Or he could just be a really good coordinator and not a good head coach. And Caleb Williams is not great.
Either one can be true.
We know Green Bay's really good, but again, Tommy DeVito beat a pretty good Packer team a couple years ago. Lions should probably be a gauntlet, but again, maybe you catch the Lions slightly napping, looking ahead to Thanksgiving. You'd never know. By the way, the Lions have suffered 2 devastating playoff losses in a row. There's a lot on their plate.
And they lost both their coordinators.
Yeah. Again,
they're in a tough spot.
This is all glass half full stuff. I'm giving you reasons not to go, oh my God.
Yeah.
Then you get that Monday night game with New England. I think New England's going to be much improved, but they still lack a lot of talent. The Giants have more talent than them.
Yeah.
We'll see. Then there's that bye week. And if the Giants are dead and buried, maybe that is the time. 4 games for Jackson Dart. Home Commanders, you expect them to be good, but all right. I'm not a big J.J. McCarthy believer. You aren't either. What do the Vikings look like on December 21st? I think the NFL schedules, by the way, there's a lot of big Viking and Bear games this year on the schedule. Primetime wise, I think they are crossing their fingers and putting a lot of stock. I'm not sure that J.J. McCarthy is going to be that good.
Yeah.
Raiders, Geno Smith, Pete Carroll, they'll be better coach, but I don't look at that as some kind of crazy game. And then, of course, what is Dallas in the last week of the year? I actually think towards the end of the year, Bryce, I don't know when you think Jackson Dart will play. Everybody just assumes post-bye, 4 games left, they're at eliminated. I look at it one better. I would start him personally if you lost that game to Detroit and you felt like the playoffs were out of reach. I would start him versus New England on Monday night. Prime time, a team that in theory you should be more talented than. Again, injuries, December 1st, anything's possible with these rosters. And I would look at that and go, I have 8 days, not 7 days, because you're going from Sunday to Monday. And then I would let him breathe for a week and be able to review film on how he did in that first game in that bye week, reset, come back for that 4-game stretch. And look, Vikings, Raiders, Cowboys that last week of the year, either they're resting guys or maybe they're dead. Like that could be winnable too. And I think that's where you turn around. And I think that's the job saving time. I think that's the time where maybe the Giants win 3 of those last 5 games or something like that. And you kind of build a little Carolina Panther type momentum, right? And Dable and Shane point to look what we did towards the end of the year with Jackson Dart. Now we're set up. And I think that is where we will be set up no matter what happens this year to seek positivity in 2026 and feel like, all right, team's together, the quarterback's going with Dart now, let's roll. That's what I'm looking at towards the end of the stretch. And that's why I like that bye week late in the year.
Dude, I'm concerned about the bye. I saw firsthand what it did to the Lions last year, how banged up they were by their week 14, whatever it was, week 13 bye. And I'm concerned that the Giants could face that same fortune. It's not like they've gotten really lucky with injuries in past years. We've talked about the Andrew Thomas, the Lisfranc foot injury a million times here.
The last time they were lucky with injuries was 2022, and it led to them making the playoffs.
Exactly. They got a lot out of Saquon Barkley that season. And this is just, I don't know. I hate the week 14 bye. I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah.
I just look at this Giants team. It would be so much better if they had a bye. We both predicted I think you had a week 8 bye, I had a week 9 bye, or that might have been switched. So like that would have been really nice. Middle of the season, dude, week 14, that's late. This is December bye week. They're playing 3 months of football. Yeah, 3 months of football. September, October, November. 3 months of football before they get their one break. Listen. I think this would be a lot different if this team was going to be competing for anything this season, but it still sucks, Shaun. Like it's still not ideal. And maybe this is a silver lining here, because we know for a fact that in 2026 they definitely won't have a late bye, and they'll actually have a chance to win 10, 11 games if they show some improvement this year. That's the way I'm looking at it. If I want to be glass half full, like I never am, but it's true. They're not going to have a late bye next year. This year,
all scheduling. I got a nice Bobby Skinner call coming in.
There you go. Tell him we're recording, and you'll.
I will.
All right. But I just hate. I hate the week 14 bye. I know you look at it as a positive. I think you're talking out of your ass here and trying.
No. I would not normally
positives when there really isn't one. But.
No. I'm only looking at it as a positive because we have a rookie quarterback and we're trying to find a landing spot at the end of the year to play.
And I agree with you. And this is obviously what the NFL wants by putting a week 13 primetime game. They assume that Jackson Dart is going to be starting that game week 13. Otherwise,
or they assume it's the Boston and New York markets, and they hope one of those two teams is a surprise team in a playoff race. And they know they're getting eyeballs from 2 of the biggest markets, and that's why they're in primetime. Look, Bryce, I'll leave you with this one too. So full disclosure, next week on the pod, Bryce, my plan, I have taken a bunch of Giant road trips. You have done plenty of travels in your life. I want to rank the top 5 Giants road trips based on location, based on time of year that fan bases could look to start booking trips to. And I might have some input on a couple of these places that I've been where I can give you some tips and all of that. I like doing that. We'll do that next week on the pod. The other part of this, we talked about the defense and the defensive identity. I'm just asking you Giant fans to put yourself in the headspace. How many of you bitched and moaned after every game they lost last year, especially early in the year in their close losses, about how much the quarterback was holding back the team and he was driving you nuts? And this goes beyond last year, how much you screamed and yelled about Daniel Jones. I'm not a big Russell Wilson guy, but Russell Wilson is a big improvement over Daniel Jones. He's at least not going to be afraid to take those chances down the field. He also gets the tight end involved a lot, which I think is going to benefit Theo Johnson. Just by sheer ability to make one bigger play a game that could lead to a touchdown with the moon ball, the Giants offense should have a little more injection in it and a little more life. So if the defense is finding a way to create turnovers, something they didn't do a year ago, now they added a Debo Holland and their pass rush is even better. And maybe you're getting a deep ball or two that changes field position or scores an extra touchdown a game or something like that. Just remember in football how many of these games are played a lot closer than we expect. That's why point spreads exist anywhere between 3 to 6 and sometimes 7. The Giants will have an opportunity just by better quarterback play on top of the defense to hang around some of these games too, which is another reason I'm not just throwing out the, oh my God, they're going to be 0-4 thing. They could stun the Cowboys with, 2 deep balls to Darius Slayton or Malik Neighbors. Next thing you know, you're looking up going, wait a minute. And now our pass rush is getting after Dak or whatever happens that first week with the Commanders or Spine Daniels. Upsets happen every year in the NFL. Teams come out of nowhere every year in the NFL. The Commanders were that team last year. The Giants could be dead and buried and be a 4-win team, sure. they also might win 7-8 games this year because the defense came alive and they were just better at the most important position. And you really look back and you realize, oh, wow, that really was holding back the Giants a lot. And oh my God, they really did add that. So today is a day for optimism. And if you're sitting here crying in your Cheerios about the Giants schedule, I don't know where the hell you were the last 3 months when you didn't realize the opponents that were on the schedule, they have to be marked down somewhere. So it's going to be tough.
Say this.
Yeah.
Joe Shane and Brian Dable have a massive leash right now. It was extremely
They do too.
small.
Good point.
And
a lot of people are out there going, wow, look at that
game.
beginning of the schedule. I guess Joe Shane and Brian Dable are getting fired. I don't think that's going to be the case, guys.
I think now that it's a reality and now, there's at least some hype regarding Jackson Dart. If he looks semi-good at the end of the year, I think even if he doesn't look great, they've still earned another season. Like they went about it the perfect way. They towed the line perfectly. It wasn't like they went all in. They gave up on their future to try to win now before they potentially get fired. They set themselves up for success long-term while also looking somewhat competent and improving the quarterback room, improving, re-signing Darius Slayton, obviously bolstering that defense. They made amazing improvements. It might be consensually known as one of the top 3 off seasons in football. It was known as one of the top drafts. I'm assuming it's one of the top, free agencies as well. And no one expected them to sign Holland. Adebo is another amazing improvement in that secondary. So I think they've done a lot to earn at least another year. Obviously, we they can go 0-17, and that wouldn't be the case. They obviously would be fired. But I think that right now, as it looks right now, they're pretty chilling right now. They're chilling right now.
Yeah, they are. They're chilling up. All right, so we'll be back next week. One Giant Step. Download, subscribe. If you're into the Giants road trips, you're considering it. I speak from a place of somebody that's done this for the Giants. I went about 6 years in a row. I've been fortunate enough, whether it's via work or via my own pre-kid travels, to see a lot of these places. I'll kind of give you input on what I expect and where maybe you guys should be pinpointing taking a Giant road trip, because that's always a fun time. That's always a good way to see a city you've never seen before that you wouldn't otherwise take a week-long vacation to, is to go watch the Giants play football. We'll kind of rank those. I'll have Bryce rank them as well, and we'll have some fun with that. So download, subscribe, everywhere podcasts are available, to One Giant Step. And we'll be back with you next week as we continue to milk this schedule for all it's worth and off-season content. Take care, everyone.